So yeah, a bit of a dramatic thumbnail here, but now that I got your attention, I want you to see this. So this is a classic in the French recipe cookbooks. This is pure bistro favorite. It's a cassoulet. Usually cassoulet is made with pork shoulder, duck, and it's, you know, it's a very full-bodied, rich flavor type of dish, and I find it exquisite when you use bear with it. So most of the time when people cook bear, they're going to stew their bear. And I have a proposal for you for your next harvest, and it's to try this French classic bistro food with your bear. Okay, so for the ingredient, what do we need? Easy. Of course, you have your bear meat. Yummy, yummy. I didn't weight it. I'll weight it and I'll put it in the video. But I'm gonna use all the meat. You know, cassoulet is a mix of multiple things. You know, you have ham, pork shoulder, you have duck, and sausages. And this one, I will just focus on one thing, bear meat. So, you know, there will be no other anything. This recipe is all about bear. Of course, I just contradict myself right now, but I lied a little. I'm gonna add a little bit of bacon because bacon is so delicious. Next thing, onions, 170, you know, just eyeball it. You know, it's don't cook with a scale, just go roughly. I'm just giving you the weight here for reference, but when you cook, try to get it by feel rather than scales. Carrots, 100 grams of carrots. You'll need some good fresh herbs. You know, keep your dry herbs for winter. If it's summer and they're available, please just use fresh herbs as much as possible. Nothing will replace the fragrance and, you know, the aromas of fresh herbs. A couple of garlic cloves here to taste. Here I'm gonna use 5, and they're relatively large. And of course you'll need your bean. So those are flageolets. If you cannot find flageolets, you can use Great Northern. They're also a great substitute for flageolet. And we will need some broth. Here I'm going to use vegetable broth, so no beef stock, you know, because I want to focus on the bear here mainly, so I'm going to use vegetable broth. But I have a tip for you folks. If you are cooking for people that are actually shy to game meat, you know, like they don't like the gaminess in meat, actually use beef stock. You know, the beef stock will give something that they're already familiar with, and it's going to make that introduction to game meat a little bit smoother, in my opinion. And of course, we will need some wine. So here I'm using Sauvignon Blanc, just white wine. We'll need about 1.5 cups of white wine. Go, you know, if in the choice that you have, go with a drier wine instead of a sweet. You know, don't take like a Riesling or something that is too sweet. You'll regret it. Go on the dry side. So Sauvignon Blanc is a good. It's not the driest of all, but it's a good place. We will need some diced tomato, about 2 cups of diced tomatoes, and salt, pepper, of course, the usual suspect, and some vegetable oil when we start cooking. All right, stovetop. So, stovetop. First thing we do is the bean. We're going to start them cooking by boiling water, and you want at least 2 inches of water above the bean level. Okay, so let's bring this to a boil, and then we'll lower it to simmer for about 30 minutes. So when things start to boil, I want you to lower your temperature to simmering. You know, that would be like between medium and medium low. And you see the foam, we want to skim off that foam from the surface. So you want to get rid of these. And here, you know, at the beginning of the boil, I want you to start a timer for 30 minutes. Okay. So I'll spend the next half hour removing that first layer. So I'll stay close. You know, I'll let the foam accumulate at the surface, and then I'll skim it up from time to time. 30 minutes, folks. 30 minutes. All right, so half hour later, here we are. I've been religiously skimming the top of that water, you know, getting all the foam out. And And now I'm ready to shut it down. And what I'll do, I'm not gonna put that on camera, but what I'll do, I'll just drain them and rinse them. That's it, okay? With cold water. So I'm gonna use this here, my creuset, to go into the oven. So I'm gonna do all my cooking in that one specific pot here. First thing is I'm going to give some colors to the meat. So about the meat, you want to give it some colors. I have large piece, small piece, doesn't matter. But one thing sure is you don't want to dump all the 3 pounds of meat in the same sitting. What's going to happen is, my wife does that all the time, it's going to boil. So she's an amazing cook, except she has that one little thing where she will put everything in the same pot and things will start to boil. Don't do that, don't be my wife, otherwise I have to marry you and you don't want to be married to me anyway. So put your meat in the pan, but not everything, and make sure you're giving nice color to all the pieces. And as I'm saying, don't put everything at once. About the bear meat, I didn't mention it earlier, but I usually salt all my meat about at least 12 hours, but better 24 hours before cooking them. Whatever I'm making, steaks, I really like to salt the meat prior to hand. Anyway, whatever. One thing you could do though for this recipe, I'm talking to you now, Foodie Plus Plus, you could brine the bear meat. And you make a brine with salt, sugar, add all the spices that you love, that you think will pair well with this dish, and brine the bear meat for a good 24 hours. Then after the brine, give it 12 hours to release some excess water before doing the searing. And also know that what we're doing here right now, we're just searing the meat. We're not trying to cook it through, okay? At this point in time here, it's actually good to start your oven. And you want to put it at 300 Fahrenheit temperature. So work all your piece of meat, and when you're done with the meat, we'll start again with the bacon and the rest. Alright, so I reduced the fire to medium. We're almost done here. So I'm going to take the last piece. And you see the bottom of that pot, folks? This is concentrated flavor. You don't want to lose any of this. So I'm gonna toss the bacon and then give it, 30 seconds to surrender their fat. And as they're actually, starting to turn translucent, they're like peeling up, I'm gonna throw in the onions and the carrots. Oh my God, that smell. Oh my God. The garlic cloves, I just crush them and remove their envelope. Do it this way, you'll thank me later. And I'm just gonna dunk the fine herbs. So this is thyme and marjoram, right? So I'll just patiently wait for the onions to turn completely translucent. This is wonderful. So when you see the onions are getting translucent, the bacon is rendering its fat, it smells wonderful. You want to jump in it. Don't. Now it's time to add the tomato, diced tomato, about 2 cups, a cup and a half to 2 cups. I want you to add the meat back into the pot with its juices. And here, the wine, we're going to add a cup and a half of white wine and 4 cups of, actually, let's add the beans before the broth. All the beans. I want it to be very soupy, okay? Because the beans are not done absorbing all that juices. So, yeah, that's fine. All 4 cups. That's pretty good. Now we're going to bring this to a boil. So when it starts boiling like this, well, it's time to put that in the oven. So I'll turn up the heat here, cover it, and send it to the oven. I'll see you in about an hour and a half. So after 1 hour and a half, this is how it looks. So as you see, it's still, you know, kind of very liquid, and this is okay. You can stir it a little bit. You can check the salt level. This is a good time to level up the salt, and put it back in the oven at for about 30 minutes again, like 30 minutes to 45 minutes. You can check from time to time for the tenderness of your meat. It will appear drier though. So back to the oven for about 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. All right, so it's been 40 minutes in the oven, uncovered, and so it has a drier aspect. It's still a little bit soupy, but don't worry about it. If you are to serve this dish today to guests, what I suggest is crank the heat up, add some breadcrumbs on the top, and send it back to the oven, for the breadcrumbs to actually pick up some color. Otherwise, Foodie++, hear me out. Let it cool down, send it to the fridge, and wait for the next day to actually eat it. The way I like to serve the cassoulet is, instead of heating the whole pot, let's say you've done it the day before, your guests have arrived the next day, and you want to serve. Well, I like to serve it in individual portions. Make sure you put some nice piece of meat in there. Voila. And on top of it, I will add some breadcrumbs, and I'll send it to the oven at 375 for a couple of minutes. And you want the breadcrumbs to really take some colors there. So at this point, you can add, if you want, a little bit of parsley, add a dash of color. It's gonna make your dish look more professional. And parsley is awesome. So tender. So thank you so much for joining me today in this video. If you made it to the end, I think you kind of like what I'm doing here, so please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and share it to anyone you think who would love this type of content. Much appreciated. So some final note on this. No, not really. This is simple, straightforward. I'm super hungry right now, so I'm just gonna jump in. Thanks, folks. Bye-bye. See ya.